What's up, nerds, and welcome back to That Nerdy Site. I'm Frank Bozzani, better known as Irrelevant Jokes. Today I'm joined by Christian Puente.
Hey there, aka Pixel Brave.
And Cameron Abbott.
Yo, what's going on, nerds?
Also known as Rev Cabot with two B's and two T's. So today we are going to be sitting down to have a little bit of a conversation. It's day 4 of PAX East of 2020. We're all very tired. We've recorded a lot of content, played a lot of games this week. But we did want to sit down to talk about one of the things that we had all played. And honestly, I think it was a highlight for most of us, but we'll kind of get into that conversation here. So what we're going to be talking about right now is this game called Hindsight 2020. It is a really awesome game. Does anybody have like a soft pitch on the game that they kind of want to go over?
Yeah, I can give you one. So the idea of Hindsight 2020 is it's a interesting story about choice, and not that you get the good or bad or right or wrong choices, but really those choices that sit in the middle in that gray area. And everything from the weapons you choose to use, the decisions you make, how quickly you make those decisions and actions, all impact everything around you. So, and then as like a story take, it is about a young man who has been wronged greatly by the authority in his town, and it is his journey on making a decision on how to come to terms with that, whether it's through revenge or forgiveness.
And and then that like is pretty much where kind of the journey starts, and you pretty much right away have to start making some of those decisions to the point where there's even two. There is combat in the game. There's two complete different combat styles. There was Ruthless, and I forget the exact name of the other one. Merciful. And it kind of goes into what it sounds. So Ruthless, you have a big sword, and you output a lot more damage, and you actually kill the enemies. Whereas Merciful, you have more of like a baton staff type thing, and you kind of knock them out, and they kind of faint, and their armor kind of falls down. And it kind of goes back to their thing of like this game really is about making decisions and then having to deal with the consequences of those decisions. And that's where kind of the big thing that they were really touting when I was talking to the creative director was that he was saying that like there is no like good or bad. It's not Paragon or Renegade. It's all gray. Because even when you think you did the right thing, it could have unintended consequences down the line that you're going to regret.
Some decisions you make are selfish, and even though you're making that selfish decision, and it in some ways it could be a really right decision to make, it has consequences on the people around you.
And so I'm kind of curious, going back into the earliest decision you make there is that weapon style, that play style between Ruthless and Merciful. What did you guys go with? So Christian, which one did you choose? Or when they were playing with you, which one did they go with?
Yeah, just to give a little background, since I'm more behind the scenes, in my demo, I had the designer play through it, and then he would ask me what story decisions to make and what weapons to do. So he was the one really taking the character through the journey and just like asking me for my input. And so when you get to choose your weapon, you already make a few decisions before, and the decision. I just wanted to give a bit of context. So the decisions I made before even the weapon choice were a bit more on the merciful side. So when it was time for weapons, I wanted to switch things up, and so I went with the attack with the sword.
Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
And it was cool. It looked. I don't play a lot of games, but some of the genres that I do like is hack and slash, and this did have a cool, nice like combat to it that flowed really well. It reminded me a little bit of like Kingdom Hearts, like
Oh yeah. No, like Kingdom Hearts is a good comparison for that. And one of the things I actually spoke to them with too is they had mentioned like Devil May Cry even being kind of like an influence.
Definitely, you can tell that with the different weapon styles is because not only are the weapon fighting styles different, how those weapons operate are totally different. The stun baton does not act like a sword whatsoever. It's almost like a fencing foil when you're using it, because only the tip of it is actually electric. And I think one of my favorite things about it is the finishing moves that you get with each combo. When you're ending a fight with an area fight with the electric stun rod, you jab them, like you do this cool like show your back to them, flip the thing around, because something to tell, the main character's handicapped. He only has one arm.
And I do like, sorry, not to even get away from that, but what I did like that they did point out to me, I didn't notice it at first, but they were like, he is handicapped, he only has one arm.
Took me a while to notice that too.
But I like that they specifically even noted where they were like, but that doesn't like hold him back at all. They were like, he's a badass.
Oh,
like
he
is a badass in this world. Like,
I asked about the one arm, and they were like, there's some story behind that, so I can't tell you. I was like, because I asked if the character that you're going up against for the wrongs committed against you, if they were the one responsible for taking the arm, and he said no, but like there's a story thing behind that. So, but I love the idea of so when he whips around and does like this, like he's like sheathing the electric rod, but like the point of it hits the person versus the sword.
The sword animation.
Oh my gosh, they're not joking between the point of ruthless and merciful. Merciful, their armor falls off, and they basically get on their knees and put their hands behind their head in a show of like we have been disarmed, and they all wait patiently for you after you've defeated them.
And even if they're still alive, they'll like talk to you after the fact. And even I guess like I think one of them gave me like an item or something. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I played Merciful. I was kind of like curious where that would be at, and it's also more difficult to play that way. So.
It is. Well, I don't know if it's more difficult because I felt like the special combos were like, so it takes 6 maneuvers with I think it's with the stun baton.
Yeah, it's like a 6-hit combo you have to nail. So you have to land 6 hits. And he'll jump up and basically slam it into the ground, and all the enemies near you get like this lightning chain attack in them, and it does like a ton of damage.
The thing is, the special like combo end attack with the merciful option, I felt ended fights quicker than the ones with the ruthless.
But but that would just almost depend on even like the scenario, how well you pick it up. Because like I even struggled a little bit with it. And a lot of the people I noticed who were playing Merciful like kind of struggle with some of that.
It should be harder.
Yeah.
Because you're deliberately trying not to cause permanent harm to these people.
What I did like about that though too is you can switch at like any point. Like you're not locked. Again, this whole thing. We've been talking about a lot about the combat here, but this whole thing is about decisions. And that's where I thought was really interesting there too, is at any point you could be merciful and just flip. Like if somebody really does something to you that you don't like, and you're be like, and you can kill them. But then what happens is you can just kill them, but then you have to deal with what happens next. Is they're not there. Maybe something now bad will happen because they're not there, or somebody else is going to be angry and they're going to come attack you now. Like it's all about like the consequences of your decisions.
And it even impacts the boss fight and what kind of a boss fight you're going to have, because if you kill all of the boss's men, the boss is going to come at you with a completely different moveset, much more aggressive, like better prepared for you, versus Merciful. If you were merciful to all of his men and then you still use your sword, he still uses the merciful tactics against you. The combination of choices to make is phenomenal, and what's great is that the game is not built to be very long. I think they said it's somewhere between like 4 to 6 hours. Yeah. And because the point is to go back and try different things. There's no point save scumming. Do not save scum. Hindsight 2020. All right. Enjoy the full playthrough on it.
And so I know, like we have been going for a bit here, but there's a couple things I just still wanted to touch on this too. And like you said, dude, like it is a lot about replayability. It's all about choices. The choices seem like they do really matter. This isn't like A and B kind of scenario where it's kind of like red or blue, and then you get to the same ending no matter what.
You can forgive the boss and like no boss fight.
Yeah. So that's what even I did, and that's kind of where I was going with that too. Is like even in my boss fight, I don't want to like get too spoilery on this, so we'll kind of keep it a little bit light. But there's like an emergency you're trying to get to, and you encounter a boss on your way there.
You don't even know it's an emergency the first time through.
Well, but so like you're trying to like accomplish a goal, and like the boss is like kind of in your way. And when I was going through this, like I forgave the boss, so that entire fight just didn't happen. He literally, you have a whole conversation. He puts down his weapon in the ground and like apologizes, and then you move on. But where that could even go, kind of talking from the dev, is like, but now this guy's alive, so he could still come back for you. He could hurt someone else. He could kill someone, you know, like.
And that's why I didn't forgive him. Never forgive and never forget.
So that's where I was kind of curious is like, how did you guys tackle this situation? I forgave the boss, I moved on, and I went and kind of on to my adventure. But what did you guys do?
When I had the dev like leave the boss be, and so that's when he told me like you might encounter him again, and that's a real possibility. So.
And what about you, Cam?
Never forgave him. There's no forgiveness for what he did. I either beat him to the point where he gave up, and then I still murdered him, or I killed him outright.
So the interesting thing about that, which we can talk about more off camera, is that I wasn't there for Cam's thing. So he's talking about how you can never forgive this boss for what happened. I don't know if it's just details came out in his story that were different from my story, but in my story, I did choose to forgive him because of what I did find out about this boss.
The extenuating circumstances behind his decision.
Which sounds like he does know, but it doesn't matter.
I didn't care. Didn't matter to me.
And then that's what's tough is because we don't want to get into like full spoilers, and that's why I feel like it's a little bit tough to dance around some of the decisions and how impactful they actually are. But I really don't want to ruin some of the things that are in there because even in that demo, I feel like it really comes across how powerful like of a game we have here and how those decisions are actually going to matter. And also I should have mentioned probably a little bit earlier too is that they told me like these are ex like BioWare devs and Sucker Punch, right? So and that's where like there's a lot of great games in their history, and I feel like they really definitely know about story and like player choice, and they definitely are like, no, we don't want Paragon or Renegade. Everything is gray, and you just deal with what you did, and then that's where you can replay it and kind of test the different scenarios. So I know we've been going for a minute here, so we're going to wrap up, but does anybody have any final thoughts on Hindsight 2020?
Yeah, I'll just end my thoughts with this. I'm writing a preview for it. My preview will have some spoilers in it. So be aware of that. This is a great spoiler-free way of hearing about my thoughts. But yeah, that's basically my final thoughts. If you want all of my details and all my thoughts, find it in my preview.
And I just was really interested in the game and am ready to get my hands on it again, where I can play around with the decisions more, take a bit more of my time, and really because it is kind of. That's the nature of a convention is that, since you do have a dev there, whether he's playing it or I'm playing it, and so that does, just having a peer there does kind of influence you, and so I'm curious to see what decisions I'll make just on my own as I have a bit more time to think about, where I want my version of this character to go, and so I'm eager to check it out.
I'm definitely with you guys on that, and I'm really curious to see where this goes. And so thank you for joining us here for another preview from PAX East 2020 on day 4 here. We were talking all about Hindsight 2020, and hopefully you'll be interested to check it out. You can find many more of our previews and PAX East content on thatnerdysite.com and youtube.com/thatnerdysite. That's it. And thank you guys for joining me here. I was glad to talk about this game.
Thank you, Frank.
We'll be right back.